Hi friends, good evening. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom alaikum. Ni hao. Namaste. Sat Sri Akal. In hot summers, the most difficult task is to update the blog through videos. I mean, to spare time for writing is a difficult task now. And to make a video response, that needs electricity. So electricity is not such a rare phenomena here. I do have that generator too, but one needs a flow. And the topic which I had touched in a previous video regarding foreign policy, that is a very lengthy one. As I have said in earlier video, that humans are product of their social environment, and cultural influences on human brains get reflected in their foreign policy too. So we Pakistanis ideology since long is our Islamic ideology is a cornerstone of our foreign policy. We have benefited a lot from it. A large number of our inhabitants are working there in oil-rich countries of Middle East. They are helping their Muslim brothers there. And of course, they are sending huge amount of remittances back home. So, in a way, we have benefited a lot from our ideological stance. There were certain setbacks too. Our emotional stance on certain issues, and obviously that was quite natural, because in a developing country you cannot expect a very logical and rational stance on every issue. And as I have narrated earlier, that our culture is authoritarian in nature. Same is the case with the neighboring India and in Afghanistan too. And even in China, there is a one-party government. Iran is also having a revolutionary regime in it, and before the revolutionary regime, that king was there, Shah of Iran. So our surroundings are not so democratic. On the whole, if I sum up the whole thing in a brief way, our economic interest many a times came up in conflict with our ideological stance. And our national security interest was also jeopardized too, because we got involved in conflicts within Middle East, in South Asia because of our ideological stance. And but when I think deeply, I reach to the conclusion that even if we would not have been an Islamic state, after the partition, the realities before the partition all reflects that communal hatred was there, and Hindu majority in India was not in a mood to tolerate minorities, Muslim minority and Christians and Sikhs and all others too. Even due to cultural influences, if you analyze Indian foreign policy, that reflects the rigidity they are so rigid in their stance on Kashmir and all that. And even as I said earlier in a previous video, that even with the largest Hindu kingdom in the world, with Nepal in their neighborhood, they were so rigid that when the Nepalese were hit by the earthquake, India had stopped all the aid to them, because the only route was available through India to Nepal. It's a landlocked country. And finally, I was contacted, and I came up with a story on my blog, and then finally they had opened the route. Why Indians are so rigid? If we study their culture, that is a society which is based on discrimination. That is a caste-ridden society. Even in Hindu religion, they have different categories. The topmost category is Brahman, those who are supreme in all respects, and rest of them are subservient to their will. So Brahmans are in minority, but they are ruling India in many respects. That the other major reason behind debacles regarding foreign policy in subcontinent is concerning Pak-India relations, is that in both India and Pakistan, political parties are hereditary in nature. They're hereditary institutions. They're not democratic institutions. There is no democracy within the political parties. So the legitimate rule of the people has not been established here during last 70 years of independence from British rule. So the true will of the people has never been reflected through elections, through polling, through ballot. That is why the Kashmir issue and all other issues between India and Pakistan are not resolved yet. And this situation is alarming for the international community too, because those who are entering in treaties with the governments having hereditary political institutions as the ruling parties, obviously hereditary institutions means rule of political mafias or those contenders for power who are trying to establish their own rule on these countries in the name of democracy. Sometimes I think that whenever there is a legitimate rule, if the political parties are being democratized and there are elections within the political parties, what will be the future of those treaties which are being signed by those hereditary rulers of political organizations who came into power in the name of democracy here, and they were skillful enough in convincing the West even. Whenever in Pakistan a hereditary mafia comes into power after general elections, and if they try to exceed their limits, then army and bureaucracy, they resist, and people, they appeal to army and to the bureaucracy to come for their rescue. And whenever such situation occurs, then these hereditary those mafias, rulers of those hereditary mafias, they succeed to convince the world that they are very democratic and democracy is in danger in Pakistan and all that. Actually, they are the danger for democracy, because all their leaders, both in India and Pakistan, for example, one family was leading continuously here in Pakistan and is still in power, and the other family in India, though it is not in power now, the other organization is in power, but because of the lack of democracy in it, now that extremist element has taken over in BJP. So situation is really very complicated here. So to conduct relations with India, having the base which is already here, with this cultural base, that our democratic culture is based on hereditary political institutions, on their existence is based, and ironically, people have least idea about these things, so they really consider those institutions as democratic, though there is no democracy within these institutions. So the real talent in subcontinent is not coming up. And besides, the hereditary rulers of those political organizations, when they come into power after the general elections, actually they don't have that much backing. And the skillfuls in international arena, they know their weakness. So the Kashmir problem is still a problem. Though people of subcontinent, they dislike wars, but 3 wars are fought between India and Pakistan. Because legitimate rule has never been established during last 70 years of independence of both India and Pakistan. With Iran, our relations are mostly normal, were normal during the days of, rather friendly during the days of during the days of Shah of Iran. But then revolutionary regime came there, and obviously they wanted to export their revolution everywhere. So very few among us here in Pakistan were convinced that we shall also have that revolution which Iranians are having in their country. Then their traditional rival of Iran is Saudi Arabia. Iran is our neighbor, and with Saudis we have religious ties. And in fact, they're our most allied allies in real sense of the term. So both these countries have started building up their lobbies here in Pakistan. Their school of thoughts, Shia sect, was and is sponsored by Iran, and Sunni diehards, whom are in majority, are being supported by Saudi Arabia, especially extremist element among them. The result was again a big debacle here in terms of sectarian strife and violence. So after partition, we have seen, due to rivalry between Saudi Arabia and Iran, we have witnessed another type of social unrest caused by sectarian element. On the whole, I relations between Iran and Pakistan cannot be termed as bad, but with Saudi Arabia, relations between Pakistan and Saudi Arabia are ideal in all respects. And here the ideology has played its role, and we have benefited from our Islamic ideology at this point. Then we have China. As our most powerful neighbor. We don't have any ideological compatibility with Chinese. But till 1962, we had settled all our border issues with China in amicable manner. Hunza was gifted to Pakistan by Chinese, and our relationship with them is quite good. Though we were members of CENTO and CETO, which was alliance against communism, headed by United States of America, and we are still the most allies of United States of America. Where we can improve, that is bringing ourselves into reality as leaders, as journalists, as common people, as common citizens of Pakistan. The reality is that even if we upgrade our parliament, the quality of leadership, even if we upgrade our political parties, even if we have democracy in our political parties, We will be only able to serve our national security interest through this way. But the lurking danger of Indian aggression will always be there. We Pakistanis, we learn fastly, and obviously, all the I am receiving signals. Almost all the parties are now in a development mode, and they're heading towards internal elections too. Announcements are being made, and I think that they will definitely practice this too, because it goes into our national security interest. Even after doing all that, we will be in need of support from international community to pressurize India, so they can also come up with true democracy within India. It is an open secret that 1 billion people, only very few among them die-hard extremists and part of Indian establishment, they are in favor of war with India, or they are in favor of pursuing that policy which is bad in every respect. Often in my writings, I had said that though our religions are different, but from thousands of years, we the people of subcontinent are living together. So our genetic inheritance is almost the same. Take a case of Kashmir. Indian Army is doing rapes there. Who is living inside Kashmir, you know? They are the family of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, the topmost leader of India, of Indira Gandhi. They are Muslims, but they are from the same race. And Indian Army is bent upon doing rapes there, doing ethnic cleansing there. Those who are called Kashmiri Pandits and are still Hindu, they too are a part of the family of Jawaharlal Nehru ji. And the rest of Kashmiris whom are having Muslim religion, they are also of the same origin. So ignorance is leading us towards doing cruel things to our own selves. And now the lack of discipline in Indian Army is so visible that in Afghanistan, the sources have told me that their military attaché, their uh, Brigadier S.K. Narayan, he had raped an Afghan girl. You cannot say anything to diplomats because they enjoy the diplomatic immunity. So he has been ousted from there, from Afghanistan. So I hope that Indian Chief of Army Staff will think on these issues too, that indisciplined army is of no use, and there shall be some corrective measures In fact, in the political institutions, all the political parties in the developed world, they do have their own ethical, moral, and legal and constitutional limits. So we have to go through a long way to develop all this. Even to understand all this, I'm trying my best. I'm giving all the details, repeating too many things. Uh, in fact, all these economy, culture, political stability, foreign policy, all these uh, are interrelated segments. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto used to say that leader is the one who can comprehend the situation around him. And he was right when he has said that. But probably he might himself would have realized finally that in subcontinent it is really difficult to comprehend the situation around you. As I have told you earlier, that due to authoritarian setup, due to extensive torture, beatings and all that at such a mass scale, uh, that, this aspect has crippled the psyche of our people. People, hypocrisy is common, people are cunning, mostly lies are there, they lie too much. You cannot trust anybody. Cheats, thuggery, goons, they rule the subcontinent. So all these things are related with the morale. Besides of the, these are related to the quality of the leadership too. If the leaders are able to motivate the masses and at large scale in subcontinent and can introduce high moral standards by becoming good examples by themselves, by setting good examples, this problem can be resolved. Our societies uh, are having the potential to learn everything which is prevailing, every good thing which is prevailing in the West. And I'll repeat again that we are doing all these reforms and we are bent upon doing it. But at the same time, to have a successful foreign policy, especially good relations with our immediate neighbors, specifically with India, with Iran, we will be in need of some positive changes there too. If there is a true democracy in Iran, if there is a true democracy in uh, India, if there is a true democracy in Afghanistan, all the unsettled issues between these countries will be resolved through bilateral means. And these are high ideals, but are achievable. And all those who had motivated me to come up with all this. They're also good leaders, and Pakistan will be definitely, if we become successful in achieving uh, democracy within our political institutions, political parties. Definitely, we will be having quality leadership in Pakistan. The conflict in our society will be resolved because if there is no equal opportunity, if there is discrimination, then social unrest is the outcome. The conflict always prevail in such societies. I go one step further, though I cannot, we cannot immediately bring Pakistan to the level of United States of America, where the equal education is also there. And without having equal education, we cannot achieve the target of having a nation comprised of people whom are having some sort of understanding among them. Because the Urdu medium thinks in different terms, and English medium thinks in different terms. We have two mediums of education here in Pakistan. We have Urdu medium schools sponsored by the government. We have English medium schools, which are mostly private, and some of the schools are of the government too. And then Catholic Church is having English medium schools, convents here in Pakistan. So we must strive to have equal education too. By this way, we can move towards a peaceful society, having a foreign policy, a policy which will be having support of international community too, especially of developed world. The moment you are having true democracy in your country, you are being trusted by the developed world. If the treaties are being ratified here in the parliament, is having approval of the representatives of the people, those treaties are having sanction behind, popular sanction behind it. So are permanent in nature and are credible in nature. And treaties made by one man, the moment his rule will end, the new ruler can refuse to accept the previous treaties. So all those experts whom are related with this field, they can understand this, that credibility will be enhanced once the bill there in the parliament, initiated by Madam Shiri Mazari, is being accepted, is being approved by the parliament. Then all the treaties made by Pakistan with foreign nations will be having ratification process there in the parliament, and our relations will be on credible basis with the rest of the world. So that will also give a big boost to our exports, because Europe they open their doors for you because you are a democracy, and if you are a true democracy, then you know things will be in a very better shape. Because recently our exports are being decreased now with the actions of our leaders. When the truth about our democracy is being realized by the developed world, obviously they start uh, closing the doors then. Besides, some lobbying against Pakistan is also there, but the truth is that if we are having a real democracy in Pakistan, we are going to be a much more secure country than we are right now. Though, until and unless there are reforms within Iran and within India. Why I am mentioning Iran? Because recently a person who is responsible for that Indian raw agent Kulbhushan is responsible for, as termed by our journals, that he is responsible for the death of 60,000 people here in Pakistan because he was organizing subversive activity here. So he came through Iran towards Pakistan. And there is a joint venture between Iran and India. So by the time we will be able to bring our own house in order, I hope that things will improve there too. So that Kulbhushan, he came through Iran towards Balochistan when was caught by Pakistan security forces. The problems in Middle East are also are of a very complex nature. So my opinion is that Pakistan shall concentrate on national security. National security interests shall be supreme. The danger of brutalization of our people is there. They're already being brutalized. 60,000 dead, 60,000 martyrs of armed forces and civilians together, more than 60,000, are a lesson for us. We shall realize this. That the more we are serious in our pursuits regarding elimination of corruption, regarding bringing our own house in order, we will be better able to escape brutalization of our masses, of our people. As General Musharraf has once said that this world is very cruel, and yes, he was right. Whenever I see the dead bodies of my fellow countrymen scattered on streets, my profession is like this, that here in Kuhat years ago there was a attack within garrison area at Pathan center. 45 soldiers were martyred. Then garrison was closed for public. I was called immediately, and I was there when those suicide bombers they not only explode themselves, but they also carry a grenade along with them. So twice it was happened that when I reached to the trouble spot, the unexploded grenade was there. Well, God save all of us. But I have seen the scattered body parts of my country fellows all around me in consequence of these cowardly attacks. Whatsoever the source of these attacks is, that is a concern of our security agencies, and obviously we also help each other in handling such situations. We shall strive to minimize such incidents and such happenings, and we can do this through our foreign policy initiatives too. As a journalist, I come across, especially on Facebook, with the people of different nationalities, with the high ups even. So whenever I am in this situation, I do negotiate with them. I do strive to have friendly relations for the benefit of my people. Our domestic instability, that is related with the adventurous foreign policy too. Though we were compelled to have this foreign policy, being a country surrounded by such big neighbors, then being allies of Western world, who were bent upon containing communism, and they have succeeded in their objectives. But now the price which we are paying uh, for being their ally, that is much greater than any of our other neighbor. Say for example India, they were having a status of a non-aligned country since long. Though they were having a defense pact with Soviet Union, but they were posing themselves to be as non-aligned state. And they are good in posing. I mean, uh, actually, people in the West, in developed world, they cannot even imagine that some people can be so cunning and crook and so bad and so deceptive. Because they by themselves do not get involved in such negative propaganda which Indians especially they carry out against Pakistan. Mostly baseless things. Now even the most the most recent happening, the most